Right, so we are at the halfway point of the UEFA Champions League phase. Let's have a look at the league table, guys, for this competition and see how the English clubs are doing, see who is performing well, see who is underperforming, because I always hear the main criticism of this new format of the competition is that it's rather complicated to get your head around, and that's fair enough, really, to be honest with you. It is very complex. I do love it, to be honest. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's way better than the old group stage format we had. We get a lot bigger games, we get a lot more games, of course, as well, and there's just a bit more chaos in there, effectively. You know, you can't really call who's going to finish in the top 8 even at this stage of the season, really, but I'm going to give my thoughts on who's doing well and who isn't, of course, in the UEFA Champions League. So let's have a look at the table and go through it. So the long and short of it for the English sides is that they're doing very well in the Champions League. They are really, really doing well. 4 of the top 8 teams, and if it stays like that, that means they will qualify automatically through the round of 16. They will not have to go through a playoffs. But 4 of the top 8 teams are English sides. We've got Arsenal in second place, who have a absolutely perfect record. 4 wins from 4, not a goal conceded. You know, they are being absolutely stubborn in the Champions League. Prolific as well. They're scoring a lot of goals too, of course. Manchester City are there in 4th. They've only got that 1 draw to the name. Aside from that, 3 victories. They've been very impressive in the Champions League so far. Newcastle, just that loss on the opening day to Barcelona. They've won every single game since then. They have absolutely skyrocketed up the table. And Liverpool, of course, with just that 1 loss to their name as well. That surprise loss against Galatasaray, but in fairness to them, look at where Galatasaray are. They're right behind them. They've had 3 wins and 1 loss so far this season too, so Galatasaray are doing really well too in the Champions League, in fairness. And even the sides that aren't in the top 8, you know, the ones that are on the edge of that, you know, you've got Tottenham there in 10th. I mean, they're unbeaten. 2 wins and 2 draws to name. Those 2 draws coming away from home. They've been very solid in the Champions League, it must be said. Chelsea in 12th. Now, that might look okay, but I'm a little worried about Chelsea. If there was one English side I'm worried about this season in the Champions League, it is Chelsea, because yes, they've had 2 wins, a loss and a draw. Now, those 2 wins came against Benfica and Ajax at home. Where are Benfica and Ajax? Bottom of the table. Bottom of the table. They've lost every game. They are doing really poorly in the Champions League. Even though Benfica have got Jose Mourinho in charge now, they can't get a point to save their lives. And of course, that draw for Chelsea as well, that came against Qarabag. I mean, Qarabag have been one of the surprise packages of the Champions League so far this season, but they are European minnows. They are European minnows. Let's not get away from that fact. They absolutely are. So, honestly, right now, I think the English sides are doing really, really well, with the exception of Chelsea. Chelsea, the only one I look at and think, you guys should probably be doing better here. Let's be honest here. But what about the fixtures that are coming up for these guys in terms of who they've got remaining? Well, Arsenal do have some tough games. I mean, it's the Champions League at the end of the day, but their next match in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, one of the other sides that are perfect so far in the Champions League. But, you know, like I said, they haven't even conceded a goal. They haven't even conceded a goal yet, Arsenal. They are playing so well right now. That'll be a massive test, no doubt, but I still expect them to qualify through the top 8 very comfortably. If you look at their remaining games as well in the Champions League, they've got Club Brugge away. Brugge have been doing well. They're a good team, but I think Arsenal are just better, quite frankly. Inter Milan away. Another side that so far are perfect. And then the final game in the Champions League phase is Kairat Almaty at home. They should really batter Kairat. I mean, Kairat, again, they're not a bad side. They're not a terrible team, but compared to Arsenal, Arsenal should really do better there. Moving on to Manchester City, we'll just go through these guys very quickly just to see who they've got. Their next game in the Champions League is Leverkusen at home. Leverkusen really, really struggling this season. They're a shadow of the former selves when compared to when they were under Xabi Alonso. Speaking of Xabi Alonso, Man City will be playing Real Madrid. Of course they will. They always play them in the Champions League. Happens every single season. That'll be a very tough game away from home, but Liverpool show that it can be done. They can be beaten. They are definitely fallible in this competition this season. They're away against Bodo Glimt, who, you know, are a good side. You know, they're a good side in the Champions League, especially at home, so they won't be easy. But again, Man City, I think, could be absolutely fine. And Galatasaray at home as well. I mean, again, Galatasaray, they've been doing really well this season. But I do think overall, Man City, they're probably going to get into the top 8. Newcastle, I don't think many Newcastle fans would have had them down as a team that would have been in the top 8 at this stage, you know, halfway through. But they do have some very tough games coming up. Marseille away. Marseille have been doing okay in the Champions League. That's not an easy away trip. I think Newcastle will get a good result there, to be honest. Leverkusen away, again. Leverkusen have been quite poor, so they've got a chance there for sure. PSV at home. PSV have not been very good in the Champions League this season. And then PSG away. I think they'll probably lose that, to be honest. But, they played very well against PSG and in that group where PSG and Newcastle were 2 seasons ago. So Newcastle, they got a real opportunity here. The draw has been pretty kind to, I think, overall. No, they don't deserve to be there, but I think the draw's been pretty kind to them. I think they got a real chance of top 8, looking at that. They really, really do. Let's have a look at Liverpool next. PSV at home, you'd expect them to win that. Inter Milan away, that'd be really difficult. Inter Milan are perfect so far in the Champions League, of course. Marseille away, I would expect them to win that one. And then FC Karabag at home, they're going to win that one. So, honestly, the 4 sides that are currently in the top 8 for the English teams, they've all got a really good opportunity, in my opinion, of staying there. They really, really do. Just quickly mention Tottenham Hotspur as well. They got PSG away next. That is really tough. That'll be a very, very tough one. Slavia Prague at home, you'd expect them to win that. Dortmund at home, that'll be tough. Dortmund are a good team. They've also got Eintracht Frankfurt away from home. They're not a bad side either. They're a real wild card. But Spurs, they're definitely going to get into the playoffs, of course. And I would wager they'll probably be in the top half of those playoffs to get a slightly easier draw. Chelsea, though, like I said, they're the ones I'm worried about. They got Barcelona at home. That'll be tough. Atalanta away. That'll be tough. They're doing well, as always, in the Champions League. Paphos at home, okay. You'd expect them to do that. Napoli away. That's not an easy game. Chelsea, they'll be in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're under threat of dropping out of the Champions League. I don't see that in a month of Sundays, but I think there's a real chance that they could be in the bottom half of that playoff. And that could mean that they get, an Atletico Madrid, a Dortmund, a Galatasaray, someone like that. They could get an Atalanta even, they could get a good team in those playoffs. So I think overall the English sides are doing really well in the Champions League, but Chelsea, the one I worry about, given their results, they've been very hit and miss. They have just scraped in there with 2 wins against 2 really poor sides in the Champions League this season. So we'll see how they get on. But I'm not confident with them. I'm really not. But guys, let me know your thoughts on the English sides in the Champions League so far this season. For me, the big surprise package out of the English teams, it's got to be Newcastle. And they deserve it. They've been excellent. They really, really have been excellent so far in the Champions League. Only lost by that 1 goal to Barcelona, of course, as well. Their 1 loss was very nearly a draw. It could have quite easily gone that other way. But yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe, guys. If you want to see more of this, have a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today. And we'll see you very soon.